Hi everyone, it's Claire from Clothed and Blessings. I am here today with Dennis from TLC Animal Shelter. We are doing a featured fundraiser through November 30th for TLC, so Dennis is here to sit with us and answer some questions. Thank you for being here and doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, of course.
At our shelter.
So, first of all, how long has TLC been established and how did it start?
TLC has actually been in business for 48 years. We started April 1st in 1974. Basically, it started after my grandfather was running Hinsdale Humane Society. And after he passed away, my father took over. And my dad ran it for quite a while. And then mom was running another shelter. And they really just didn't like running shelters for other people. So then we opened up TLC.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
very much so.
How has working here impacted you?
I mean, I love working here. It's better than any normal job than you could possibly ever imagine. Every day is something different. I get to deal with different people every day, but I get to work with animals. And I really enjoy working with animals. After I got out of service, I worked construction for a while, and then we were having a hard time finding help here. So then I just came down on weekends just to help out and never left.
It's hard to leave the animals, isn't
yeah,
it?
this June 2023, I'll have been here 30 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, don't make me feel that old.
So what does a day in the life at TLC look like for you?
Well, it's different every day, but get up in the morning, get here by 8:30 and hand clean every single one of these cages and everybody gets moved. Everybody gets hand cleaned because that's how you keep sickness down. I mean, it's really hard when people go from cage to cage with their hands, but in general, cleanliness is the best. I mean, my floors have to be clean. The cages, when we take them and we move them, take these doors off, these all get washed every day. All the bars, all the rungs. We get here at 8:30 to open up at 11, so figure what, 2.5 hours it takes to clean the shelter every morning, and then again every night. And then of course, deal with the customers all day long, and the animals that may be sick, vaccinate them, take care of them, and then get them good homes.
Wow, that is great to hear that it gets cleaned every day. I think that eases a lot of
It has
people's...
to. I mean, there's just no way that it can't. If you don't clean, then what'll happen is the place will start to smell. And there's nothing better to me when somebody walks in and goes, "This is the cleanest shelter I've ever seen," or "It smells good in here." It gets hard when you have animals. I mean, there's times people walk in like, "Ooh," but I'm like, no. I mean, you have a lot of animals, but we do our best to try and keep this place as clean as possible for the animals.
Yeah, that's great. What are some things that come with this job that you did not expect?
Did not expect. Probably the cruelty and inhumanity and the stupidity that I see all the time that people do to animals. Dad used to be the animal control officer for the Village of Lamont. Okay. And then after he left, I took over. And just some of the things that you see that people do, or like when they leave their animals on the doorstep in the middle of the night. We used to, when we did the animal control, I used to have a van here. And I would drive to Lamont, pick up the dogs, bring them back here, and then we would hold them for a couple of days to give the owners a chance to try and find them. If they didn't come after that time frame, we were able to put them up for adoption. The van had a broken door latch. I'd come in the morning and there'd be 4 dogs in there. If you walk around the outside of the shelter, all of our external cages all have padlocks on them. It's not because people were coming and stealing dogs. It's because I'd leave here at night and there'd be 5 dogs. I'd come in the morning and there'd be 30. People would just come in, open the door, throw their dogs in here and leave.
Oh my gosh.
Which, in retrospect, I mean, I don't want to say that's good because it's definitely not.
Right.
I would rather them come in and tell us something about the dog via just leave them here. Because we don't know nothing about them. Are they sick? Are they mean? Did they bite somebody? I mean, so I don't like when people do that. I wish people had a bit more respect for their animal. And if they don't have any money, as much as I don't want to say this, I wouldn't turn somebody away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we do need the money to keep the shelter running.
Yeah.
But I would rather have somebody come in and be like, "I don't want this animal because of this," than just to leave it by the door or to come in with some lie. I've never met so many allergic people in all my life. Half the animals in this place are all because we've developed allergies.
Oh, man.
My mom has got allergies and she works here, so. But yeah, that's one of the things I would really have to say is the worst part is just the cruelty and stupidity, I guess, for lack of a better word, that people do. I mean, how do you have an animal for 14 years? I'm moving. Oh, I'm allergic to it. It's got to go. Oh. You learn to read between the lines. You know what I mean? Like, don't put them with little kids, probably because the dog has been tormented or been teased by little kids, so you can't be around them. So people will do little things, but once you've been here long enough, you can kind of pick out why they're getting rid of the animal. So And honesty is the best. I mean, if you don't tell me the truth, how am I supposed to get him a good home?
Right.
I mean, if that cat is urinating all over the house and you don't tell me, I adopt out to somebody telling me it's a great cat, then if it pees all over their house, that's not fair to the people that adopted it.
Right.
And if they do something mean to the cat, that's not fair to the cat.
Right.
So, I mean, honesty is the best policy.
Right.
So,
That kind of leads into another question I had. Do you ever get calls from people that adopted and say it's not working out?
Sure.
And then what do you do if that happens?
two things. One, take them back, or two, try to figure out what the problem is and try to rectify it for the people.
Okay.
Honestly, sometimes it's more just a little bit of training or a little bit of knowledge. I mean, that's another thing that I like to pride ourselves on. If you get something from us, you have a problem, bring it back. I mean, I can teach you how to train your dog a little bit. If there's a problem, we can try and figure out what's going on and go from there. So that's the best thing.
That's awesome.
I mean, it's all about making a good experience for you and for the animal. At the end of the day, I want the animal to have a great home, and I want you to have a great pet in that home.
That's great.
So, thank you.
You can tell that you have a really good heart and a
Try.
good heart for animals. It shows.
Oh, I'm much better with animals than I am people, let me tell you. Yeah, I'm like really nervous sitting here. I'm not really good at talking, but
You're doing great. You're doing great. What are the advantages of adopting a rescue versus buying from a breeder?
okay, so rescuing an animal, they need homes. All of these guys need homes. Now, if you're looking for a specific pet, I mean, I personally, probably going to get killed for this, don't have a problem with somebody going to a breeder if you want a specific dog that you don't see here. I'm not talking going to a pet store. I'm saying if you really want something that's a specific breed, I personally don't see nothing wrong going to a reputable breeder. I don't believe in pet stores. I don't even believe half the dogs that you see in a pet store are probably even pure, especially when they're coming from Missouri, Iowa, Kentucky. So, I mean, if I'm going to buy a specific dog, I want to go to a breeder. I want to meet that breeder. I want to see how he treats his animals and how they're taken care of.
Yeah.
Personally, I would rather go to a shelter because I just believe they make a much better pet. If I was looking for a specific pet, I can understand that. But in general, these guys all need homes. They really do. And most of the time, they're just misunderstood. The cat on the bottom down there, the lady, her daughter yells and screams and runs through the house and the cat hides all day long. That's not that cat's fault. The lady should be teaching her daughter on respect for the cat. So what do? They get rid of the cat, and now that daughter, who's 5, she realizes now, by screaming no, the animal goes away, they lose respect, or they don't have the training that they get to keep that animal.
Where do most of your animals come from, and how often do you get new animals?
Okay, so they come from 2 places. One, owner give-ups, or high kill shelters out of Kentucky.
Okay.
So every Thursday, different shelters in Kentucky send out lists of all the animals that are set to be euthanized.
Oh, wow.
So we get that list just like everybody else does. My mom goes through and she picks any animal that she thinks we can adopt out. There's just a little thumbnail picture and a little bio. We don't want to have something shipped up here. It's not fair if we're not going to be able to adopt them out.
Okay.
So as long as the animal looks good and it seems friendly in the picture and has a good bio, we have them brought up. That's every single Saturday. But every day, I get dogs and cats in every day from owner give-ups.
Wow.
We probably handle about 5,000 animals a year.
Oh,
I'm going to say that our adoption rate is probably about 97%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we do really well. We really do.
That's awesome.
The thing I like about us, we treat people with respect. So not everybody with no teeth is a bad person. And not everybody that comes in an Armani suit is a great guy. Just because you don't have a fenced-in yard doesn't mean you don't deserve to have a pet. I mean, I lived in a condo and I had a Borzoi, a Russian Wolfhound. I walked her 3 times a day, or I'd bring her to work with me. Some people do have that option. So the one thing I like about us, there's only a handful of people through every adoption. Me, my mom, my dad. The other people that work here, they talk to the people, but at the end of the day, the final say is me, my mom, or my dad. I like to think that we're fair. I like to talk to people. If you learn how enough to ask the same question a couple of different ways, they'll answer. And some people just blade out will tell you, I'm going to keep them outside. Or I'm going to do this. So therefore, or I don't want to get them fixed. Well, now you're not getting an animal. Well, I'll change my mind. I'll do that for you. I don't believe you now, so no. Now you're not getting it. But yeah, so we're the only ones that go through the adoption, and we get animals in every day. Wow. And then what we do is we take in, like I'm booked out till next week. Okay. So that's how I regulate. Like right now I have some cage spaces, so I've got appointments coming in this week. Okay. And I'm going to be kind of full. So what I'll do is I won't take anything until next week. And that's how we regulate so we can keep the numbers down. We're not very big.
What is your typical turnaround time for animals?
Cats, Now, it can go anywhere from 1 second to 1 month. It really just
Okay.
depends. But I'll see in a cat, probably about 2 weeks. Dogs, even less. Before COVID, we would probably do 25 to 30 adoptions on a Saturday alone, and then a few adoptions throughout the week. COVID came, man, we were doing 70, 80 adoptions a week.
Wow.
Now that COVID is basically over and people are starting to go back to work and move around, our adoptions have dropped. They're still pretty good, so instead of doing like a 30 on a Saturday, now we do anywhere from 8 to 12.
Wow.
But I'm doing more during the week now too,
Oh
so
my gosh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Do you have a limit on how many animals someone can adopt? And can you talk a little bit more about the screening process
Sure.
that you
Limit as in at one time or in general?
have? How about both?
Okay, so at one time, yes. In general, yes.
Okay.
So in the screening process, pretty simple. I use common sense. I like to talk to the people. I mean, if you should know if you get a good feeling about them, you know what I mean, then chances are things are going to be okay. If something's off, I mean, you really can't go with, I call it my gut. I go with that. Just because you do a home visit doesn't mean they're going to be great. Background checks, I mean, you can talk to other people, but if you do a background check, say you want to adopt, now you say, well, call my dad. Your dad is not going to, most of the time your dad's not going to be like, oh man, my daughter is horrible, right? You're going to give me somebody that is going to say something good.
Right.
If I do a home visit, it's going to be at a scheduled time, correct?
Right.
I mean, I'm not just going to show up at 2 in the morning. So you know that I'm coming. So you're going to have everything in place.
Sure.
So personally, again, I like to talk to people and I like to ask them the same question a different way. And if you just don't get a good feeling, I'm sorry, and I'll even tell people, I'm sorry, I'm not getting a good feeling right now. I'm just not going to go through. I could be wrong and I apologize.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I don't let it go. As far as the amount of animals go, kittens, I'll let some people take 2. Cats, I may let them take 2. Depending on puppies or dogs, I usually like them to take 1 home for a while. Let it just get settled. Everybody's always in a hurry to grab, like, I want 2 puppies from the same litter. The problem is honestly speaking, they don't know that they're brothers and sisters. They don't see things like we do, right?
Okay.
It's a litter mate. I've seen where people have taken 2 home and have been great. I've seen where people take 2 home and have to bring 1 back because they constantly fight. So I generally like somebody to take 1 and then let it get used to the house. And if they want to come back for another one, that's okay.
That's really interesting because I've always thought like, oh, I feel so bad for taking one and not taking the brother.
Most people do, but the problem is when you have 2, you get people that come in and they're like that, I can't separate them. So then they don't go. So then if somebody takes 1, if they haven't decided, then somebody has another chance to get the other one. I've had a few times where people, I've refused them to, and they were mad. Then they called me back and they thanked me because they got that puppy home. And it was a bit more than they were expecting. And see, that's the problem too, is time heals all wounds. I mean, I had a gentleman come in, he wanted a German Shepherd, and I couldn't adopt it to him. He was 78 years old, his wife was under one arm, his daughter was on the other. He could barely stand. His 16-year-old Shepherd just passed away, so he's used to a 16-year-old Shepherd. He wanted a 7-month-old male that I had. There was no way he could handle it. He couldn't walk it. It would have hurt him. And I felt really bad telling him that I couldn't adopt it to him, but I was worried about his safety. He called me every name under the sun because he had just lost a Shepherd. But what he didn't realize is that dog was 16 years old. He was 15 years younger. Years go by, and as you get older, you forget how much work is involved. And the older we get, you know, our reflexes, our strength, they're just not as good as they once were. So that's another screening process. We just don't feel that the pet fits you. Do I have an age issue with it? Heck no. I'm gonna scratch that one. I just adopted a 7-month-old little terrier mix to a 70-year-old couple yesterday.
Aww.
The dog was really good with them. They were very good with the dog. The dog did not pull them. They knew what they were doing. So in that aspect, it goes back to the common sense. If we feel that the dog fits you or you fit the dog, then the adoption can go through. If there is a red flag or something just doesn't fit, I don't want to see you have to bring the dog back, and it's not fair to the dog to be shuffled around because he's put in a situation he doesn't belong in the first place.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of individualism. That's why we try to talk with the people as much as possible and, you know, see what's going to fit them. The way we've always been. It's the way my dad taught me, and it's the way it's going to be for as long as I'm here. It's the only way. I mean, like I said, going to somebody's house and checking out their house doesn't constitute it's going to be a good home. Making sure they got plenty of money doesn't make sure. I mean, I can sit here and tell you stories all day long. I can tell you a story about a gentleman who came up here from Mississippi because his dad was taking all of his Social Security money to feed the dogs and not himself, and the dad went into the hospital, so he had to bring the dogs in. right? So then there was another story of a guy who adopted a dog from me and kept it outside because he didn't want it in the house. So I went back and I just took the dog back from him. So, I mean, every situation is different. So,
Yeah. So what is the cost of adopting an animal and what does that include?
okay, so our prices have gone up now. So they passed a new law that all animals have to be spayed or neutered before they leave the shelter.
Okay.
So our prices now are $500 for a dog.
Okay.
So that includes microchip, first shot, worming, heartworm test, leash collar, and ID tag.
Oh, that's great.
So a lot of people are very unhappy that it's $500, but the problem is when we were at $300, could you imagine trying to get your dog a rabies shot, heartworm test, microchipped, and fixed for $200?
Oh, no.
So in the long run, it helps, but it's a state law now. Everything has to be spayed or neutered. For the animals that are too young, I have a waiver from one of our vets.
Okay.
So we charge a $200 deposit. Dogs are $500, cats are $300. So, and like I said, that includes the microchip, heartworm test, sometimes rabies shot, depending if we have them here, leash collar, ID tag, and the spay and the neuter. Like I said, there is the $200 deposit that is refunded. So 2 times a month we have a vet that comes down from Michigan and does our spays and neuters, and then we branch them out. So if you want to get a puppy that's too young now, we figure out when he's going to be about 5 months old. You come back that day, you leave the deposit. And honestly speaking, everybody's really good about that. They want their $200 back. So, and then they want to get the dog fixed too. And I mean, that's great. I just kind of wish they would have a little bit more spay-neuter clinics, low cost, to help the people. I don't really like when they make laws that only apply to shelters and pounds, not pet stores or private citizens. I mean, if you're really generally worried about the population and everything, they should really do branch something out across the board that's going to make it work.
What are your hours and your adoption days?
Okay, so hours are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 11 to 4. We're closed Sundays and Mondays. As soon as we can get some more help, we'll be open back on Fridays. The problem is the Friday help is only down to 2 people, so we've been closed on Fridays. But normally forever hours were Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 4, closed Sundays and Mondays. Everybody wants our hours to be extended. I mean, we get here at 8:30 every morning to hand clean all these cages, and then we're here after 4 o'clock. I mean, on Saturdays I get here at 8 in the morning, and if there's no surgery, I'm out of here by 6. If there's surgeries, I'm out of here at 10. I mean, I can't really be open any more hours just because we're here so much as it is. Yeah. So we're just not open to the public that much.
Okay. Do you get a lot of volunteers that come in and help you?
Yes and no. We get a lot of people that want to volunteer. The problem is what we need is people to help clean.
Oh.
Right? A lot of volunteers come down and they think it's all about walking dogs or petting dogs, which is all well and good, but for them to be adopted, I need them in the building. I need people to see them. Yeah. The biggest thing we need help with is cleaning, and most people just don't want to clean cages. I mean, who wants to clean poop?
So what is your greatest need here? I think people usually think like dog food.
Nope, that would be the least.
Okay.
The greatest thing at any shelter, honestly, is going to be monetary donations.
Okay.
Money. You can't pay the gas bill, the electric bill, the vet bills with dog food. The thing is everybody wants to donate dog food. The problem is that these guys that come in from Kentucky, or even an owner give up, are so understressed or overstressed that they generally don't eat a lot.
Okay.
So I get people that bring in, broken bags of food and we tape them. Problem is mice and moths. So you can't really store a lot of dog food. And the thing is that we try to feed good brands. There was a car club that raised a bunch of money, and I'm very grateful for that. But instead of donating the money to the shelter that we could have used, they went out and they bought 2 skids of generic dog food because they thought they were helping the animal, more being better. The problem is, I don't want to feed generic to these guys, right? So we try to stay with the same type of food. So honestly, monetary donations are best. During the winter months, newspapers and blankets. Those are the best because we always put paper down in the cages so the dogs are on the concrete, but I like to put blankets down so they're up even higher and they got something warm to lay on.
Yeah.
Cleaning supplies are another one. Paper towels, bleach, Odaban, Pine Sol. Again, more for cleaning.
Okay, so that wraps up my questions. Is there anything that you'd like to add?
Thank you very much for doing this.
Well, thank you for your time.
Oh, no worries. I can't think of anything else other to add, except maybe you should take something home with you when you leave.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dennis, for sitting down and answering the questions for us. This was great. Gave me some insight. Yeah, I'm so glad. Me too. So make sure you guys come on down to TLC and adopt some animals.
13016 West 151st Street in Homer Glen.
Perfect. Come on down and adopt some animals. I will link TLC's information down below, their website and their Facebook page. You can go to clothandblessings.com to check out the products that are available through November 30th and support TLC.
Thank you.
Thank you.